Hey, welcome to Rock Your Life with Ariana Alexander. You are going to love today's show. I have one of my favorite people on the planet here with me, Coach Sophia. Sophia Parra is a social media strategist, and she helps people with increasing their following, their engagement, and their reach. But we're not just going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about visibility and change your perspective on social media, because I know some of you have a very strong opinion against social media. Sophia has changed my experience around social media, so I wanted to bring her on to share with you the real value of social media and how to do it accurately and get what you want out of social media. She has helped clients go from 800 followers to 50,000 followers. She's helped clients get on TV features. She's helped clients make six-figure launches. And she herself is the creator of a program called What the Heck to Post, which I'm a member of. We'll talk more about in our interview. And she was recently featured in Forbes magazine because she's amazing. So here we go with Sophia. Hi, Sophia. I'm so glad to have you here with me today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's cool because the reason I wanted to have you on is you have really helped me understand how to use social media in such a powerful way. And I think there's such an opinion of social media and what it is and what it isn't. And I wanted you, the expert, to come show us the way today.
Oh my gosh. Well, it is my absolute pleasure to change that opinion if I have that honor, because yeah, I think I said this to you earlier. Social media has become a light in my life, like both personally and through my business. And that is a weird thing to hear, I think, for a lot of people, because they associate a lot of negative things with social media. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here and hopefully change that opinion.
Well, let's just start with that then. It's become a light for you. Tell me what you mean about that.
So I fell in love with social media around the time when my father was diagnosed with cancer. I had this interest of becoming a social media manager purely for money reasons. Like, a lot of people were making money off of social media, and I kind of saw it as like, this might be like the golden age of media. I should take advantage of this, right? So fast forward back to this time of my life, I was actually an actor. And you know a little bit about that.
Yes.
I was an actor. I was miserable. I love acting. I still love acting, but the business of acting was really eating me alive. I was living in New York City. I had like a million jobs. I was crying on the subway from audition to audition constantly. Like that was like my daily practice. Like, cry from one job to the next, get home, cry some more, go to bed, wake up, cry because I have to go to my day job. And I would pray for these auditions that sometimes would come, sometimes would not come. But when they came, I was so happy. I was happy in the room. I was happy auditioning. But the 99% of the time as an actor, you're not acting, right? You're not on set. You're not auditioning. You're like working to get this audition or trying to find an agent or whatever it is, especially if you're a beginning actor. Like, at the time, I was probably only like a year and a half, 2 years in. So fast forward some time, and like I said, I saw social media as an opportunity to kind of get me out of this space of having a million day jobs. I was like, well, what if I had a successful social media business? Then I could work from home and audition when I needed to audition. And that seems like an option for me, right? I had a lot of fear. I didn't pull the trigger on this idea for at least a year, probably more than that, but it was kind of sitting in the back of my head. But my dad got sick. There was a process of when he got diagnosed and when we found out, how serious it was and things like that. But long story short, I was on my way to actually film some voiceover for a part I had on Blue Bloods. I was playing a trophy wife, and I had to film some audio. And on my way there, I got a message from my dad saying that he has oral cancer. And, originally he thought it was stage 2. It turns out it was stage 4, and he had less than 3 months to live. Basically, it was like, if he survives for 3 months, like, he's a very lucky man. They said chemo wouldn't work. They said there's a 50% chance chemo will work, but it's more likely that it will kill him. They didn't give him really any other options. They said, the best case scenario, or the best option that he had, was if they remove his tongue and they remove a large part of his jaw, and he will never be able to talk or eat again. And that was kind of what they suggested, right? So my dad, who is a very stubborn man, was like, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, don't know how I'm going to live at least 5 years. And I am not going to do any of this treatment. So he went home, and I'm of course in a panic because I'm like, I'm going to lose my dad, because in my brain, I did not think there were any other options. I'm so grateful my dad had this amazing ability to just believe that there are always other options, and he did not stop looking until he found one. And where I was sitting, it was the end of my world. I was like, this is happening. I have to prepare for this. I have to make $10,000 so I can fly to be with my dad, and I can sit with him like by his deathbed for 3 months until he passes in 3 months' time. Like, this is where my brain was going. So I was like, how am I going to make $10,000? How am I going to do this? And that was my business plan. Like, start a social media business, make $10,000, be with my dad, close down business, go back to being an actor. Like, that was like what I knew, and that was what I was accepting. So long story short, I did start the social media business. I pulled through like all of my fear, and I just got to the other side of it because I had no other choice. And I became a business owner overnight. And I called myself an accidental entrepreneur, because I literally was like, I felt like I had no other choice, and boom, an entrepreneur was born, right? And I was able to afford the plane ticket to be with my dad. I was actually even able to pay for my sister's plane ticket, because she's younger than I was, and she was still in grad school. So she had even less money than I did as an actor. And so I was able to afford a plane ticket for her as well. We stayed with my dad in Mexico. We supported him. And I had to leave him. I can't remember why, temporarily, because he was exploring this other alternative treatment, because the Mexican treatment, or not the Mexican treatment, but the treatment he received in Mexico helped him contain the cancer, but didn't cure the cancer. So he found a different treatment in Germany, and he went to Germany to get this like cutting edge, never before heard of treatment. Now it's more common, but like at the time, this was like weird stuff, right? I was like so stressed out about this treatment he was exploring, because I was like, Dad, we're losing time. Like, just try the chemo. Like, this is where my brain was, right? And long story short, so he was in Germany and I was back in New York, and I was waiting for him to basically let me know when he was going to be back in the States so I could fly back out to be with him. And I get this call. It still gets me so emotional, but I get this call like 2 weeks after he lands in Germany. And at this stage, the last time I spoke to my dad, he could not talk. He had a tumor the size of a golf ball in his mouth. He couldn't eat. He had lost almost 100 pounds. And he was writing on a whiteboard to communicate with us. And one of the last messages he wrote on this whiteboard was, "I'm so proud of you." And I thought that was the last time I was ever going to see my dad. And he called me 2 weeks into his treatment in Germany. And he's just like, "Hi, Sophia." And I remember being like, who is this? Because my dad can't talk, so this can't be my dad, right? And I was like, Dad? And he was just like, hi. He's like, the tumor's gone. And this amazing treatment in Germany took away the tumor. And he had another 5 years with us. But it was that experience I had now like gotten through the other side of my fear. I had now created this business. I now had this foundation. And I was like, wait a second, why stop now? Like, what else is possible in this world? So I started using social media. I started a business, and I went far beyond like $10,000, right? I grew it into something that actually funded a team, funded my life, my husband ended up having a stroke a few years later, and he didn't work for over a year, and I was able to support us just fine. And so it funded my life in my dreams in a lot of different ways, but also insurance ended up, I kind of briefly told you this story earlier, Arian, but insurance ended up telling us, we are not going to pay for this treatment because it is alternative. It's not FDA approved. We don't offer it in the United States. So this cannot be we can't pay for this. So we were suddenly, after this incredible treatment, my dad's healthy again. And we were told that they won't help us pay for this life-changing treatment, or I should say life-saving treatment. So we had to figure out a way. My dad had some savings, but it was everything he had, right? And so we had to figure out a way to help with that cost. And I turned to social media. I shared my story the most vulnerable way I knew how. And at that time, that was not normal for me. I didn't use social media that way. I used social media to find clients and also to just be me, silly pictures of my dogs. Like, I didn't really use it to be my full authentic self, tell my truth, tell my fears, like share where I was. So I used social media in that way for the first time. And we ended up raising almost $75,000 to help pay for this treatment through social media, through this incredible community that have stuck with me through. My dad passed recently. Like I said, he did extend his life for 5 years, like he said he would. He's got the power of mindset for sure. And the community that found me during that time is still around. And still, when he did pass, the amount of love that we got just to wish him well as he passed to the other side was overwhelming. And it just created this beautiful community, both on a personal level and on a business level. So for me, that's where it started, and why I find social media to be a beautiful place for connection. Yes, there's comparisonitis. Yes, there's all those other things that can come with seeing other people share their lives and their highlight reel. But when you can get, when you can kind of get your own mindset in check and your own like tendencies to jump to those areas, when you can kind of like give yourself space and understand like, is this the social media that's giving me this opinion, or is it me putting my opinion on these things that are happening that's affecting me? When you're able to like, get space between that and also unfollow the people who are triggering you for some reason, it can be such a beautiful place for connection, opportunity, and love. And that's how I use it. So
wow. Well, that's a very powerful experience that you had in your own, creation of your business and how you've used social media, because you've had it firsthand of the power of connection and community building and literally helping save your dad's life with funding this holistic treatment that did extend his life for 5 years. So I really get your own integrity in this and how important it is to you. And that is why, obviously, one of the reasons that you're so successful in what you do, because if that's your intention coming into it with your clients, then you're able to convey that as well without saying it even, because your intention's so pure around it. So, wow, thanks for sharing that. That's really, really beautiful. So, and I also think there's a lesson in here of, we don't always know this path. We think life can be one path. Like you thought, I'm going to be an actor in New York and I'm going to be on TV shows and I'm going to be in theater. And then you thought, well, I'll just do social media business to pay for my life so I can still be an actor.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because it's just an example of how we think we know how life is going to flow and like our plan. And what really happens is, life's going to present us what's best for us, the opportunities and the situations. And it's up to each of us to say yes and lean in when the opportunities are presented. And you did it. You said yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy that you brought that up, because I will say that period in my life where I kind of made a decision to not do something the way I was told it should be done was really difficult for me. So with acting, you go to school for acting and they kind of tell you, they paint this picture like you're going to be struggling in the beginning. You're going to have a million jobs. Like there's a reason actors have this like struggling actor, kind of stamp on them, like the typecast for an actor, right? So they were preparing me for this, right? And so that was because that's what I was told it should look like. I almost just walked right into that. Like I was like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be struggling. So let me get 5 jobs. Let me barely be able to pay for my apartment. I just walked right into this vision that I was basically taught was the way to be an actor. And there was this point when I don't remember what made me ask myself this question. So I was asking myself, what would my life look like if there was absolutely no obstacles in my way, right? And the qualities that kept coming up to me were freedom. I saw myself inspiring people. I wanted to like pave my own way and show people how to do it. And there was all these things that were coming up to me that I realized actually didn't have to do with this specific vision I had with being an actor, right? And being an actor was about celebrity and fame and all these things that I realized actually wasn't what I wanted out of that. I wanted the celebrity and all that stuff because I thought that was how I was going to get the freedom and the way to inspire people. Right. So I realized, like, if that's the part that's not important to me, I can be free with the journey on how I get there. And I can design my own life doesn't align with what I've been told it should look like. Right. So that's when I started kind of figuring out with social media, okay, so what do I love about acting? I love being on camera. I actually love marketing the acting work sometimes more than the acting work. I love inspiring people. So I was like, how can I incorporate those qualities into my business so that even when I'm not an actor, even when I'm not an actively working actor, I'm still getting those qualities in my everyday life, right? So that's kind of how I like moved away from that, right? I stopped kind of getting trapped in this vision that other people had created for me. And I started letting myself design my own thing, right? And and I left this identity of actor to become entrepreneur. But that was so hard for me because I felt like it wasn't possible because that's not what people had been teaching me it should look like, you know?
Yes.
So that was
Yes.
a hard decision to make. I remember it took me forever to change my Instagram bio because I realized I didn't want to be an actor anymore. And for the longest time, I was actor and social media strategist. And it took forever to remove actor because I was like, but who am I if I'm not an actor? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that decision was difficult.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because I really hear what you're saying about choosing the qualities. Again, we think we have this preconceived notion of what life's going to look like and what the relationship is going to look like and what the job is going to look like. And what you are saying is you broke it down into the qualities that you want to experience and then really left that open to however that shows up. And I think that's such a secret sauce in manifestation and creation is it's going for the feelings and the qualities and the experience, but letting the actual end product, it might be different than what you think it's going to be. And that's hard. It's not an easy thing to do because we fucking want so much control over every single, I can speak for myself. I want so much fucking control over every fucking thing in my life. And I'm like, I don't actually have the control, do I? It's a big cosmic joke. Okay. Totally. This is awesome, Sophia. You're amazing. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. You're listening to Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander with my guest, Sophia Parra, and we'll be right back.
Fun for Life Radio, because having fun is a good use of your time.
Okay, if you haven't listened to other shows on Fun for Life Radio, we have some awesome music shows that you should totally check out. DJ Basie is one of my babes, and she has a really, really cool, fun, funky music-driven show that you can listen to. Also, DJ Ceviche. We have the St. James Radio Hour. So there's all kinds. We have a nice mix here on Fun for Life Radio of music and talk. And you can just listen to us 24 hours a day for free here on Dash Radio. And now you're listening to my talk show. And I'm here with Sophia Parra. She is a social media expert. And I have learned so much from her through the years. But what I really appreciate what we're discussing is her take on social media. That's a different angle than just like putting yourself out there and just doing stuff and getting clients. Sophia has a much more, let's call it holistic take on how to actually use social media for social good, for like creating good in the world. And one thing that I think is interesting that I want to touch on what you were speaking about is this place of visibility. I find this is really hard. You know, I work with a lot of clients around confidence and putting themselves out there and being visible and being okay with it. And obviously social media is a huge part of this. So I'm curious, in your perspective, what are the biggest challenges that your clients come up against in being visible on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can feel scary for people. And I think their biggest fear that they have is being judged for being visible. Like, depending on what they're making a stand for, or even if they're not making a stand for anything, just sharing a picture of themselves. They're afraid someone's going to, like, even if they're not commenting it, think something about the way they look or what they're doing, or, wow, who does she think she is to say whatever it is, to say this on social media, right? Particularly if they're moving into the space of entrepreneurship, where they start marketing their business and things like that, they can start thinking people are assuming that, oh, well, she wouldn't be, if she has to post about her business on social media, she must not be successful because she doesn't have a sold out client roster or something like that, right? So they are so afraid of being judged. And what I feel that. I completely get that. And I actually find, even in my years of doing this, even in my years of coaching other people to do this, and even in the amount of success I have seen on social media, I find myself saying that as well. I catch myself in these moments of like second guessing an Instagram story, or, you know, feeling like I have to use a filter because I feel like I'm getting older and I don't want people to see that I'm aging, right? Or like little things like that. I can see these habits, right, just pop up. And what I always remind myself, and this is what I actually encourage people to change their mindset around. So often, you know, I think social media is the most powerful when we're not showing up for ourselves, when we're showing up for other people. And what I mean by that is when we are jumping into these beliefs or these fears of judgments, we're automatically making it about ourselves, right? So that's obviously that's automatically a sign that you're not approaching social media in a way that can serve others, right? When you show up as your true self, as, you know, like however you want to say that, phrase that, right? You, without, whether you're a business owner or not, you are inspiring other people to do the same. There's something different about your energy when you're just like, you know what? Oh, I release this judgment. I show up because A, I want to be here, and B, because I know this is going to impact someone else, right? When you do that, we as a receiver feel that energy. And so often when you are afraid that people are judging you, they're actually not judging you. They are cheering you on. The room, like I always say this to people who are speaking in live events, if they're nervous about getting up on stage. Actually, my dad said this to my sister as well. Maybe this is where I got it from. My dad said this to my sister before she did her maid of honor speech at my wedding. She was nervous and he said, remember, the audience always wants you to win. They are not there to criticize you. They want you to do a good job. And I take that with social media too. We are making this assumption that the audience is there to bring us down, right? To judge us, to all those things. But actually, more often than not, and I have done a lot of research on this, the audience wants you to win, right? So if you are not using social media for your business and you're just using it to express yourself and be free and just, you know, share, that's a reminder that I would have if you're in that category. However, if you are a business owner and you are using social media to drive traffic to your product or your coaching services or whatever it might be, remember, it's not about you. It's about the person watching. It's about the person that you can help. And if you think that, like, if you go to the end of your life and you just like imagine, right, you're about to meet your maker or whatever, however you want to word that, right? If they were, you know, if you were to be told like how many people you missed the opportunity of helping simply because you were afraid and keeping yourself small, I never want that answer. I never want to know that there are people that I couldn't help because I decided not to be my true self on social media, right? Like yes. I want to know that I did everything in my power to help as many people as possible. And whether you know it or not, even if you're just helping one person, right? That is more than if you're helping no one because you're too afraid to show up, right?
It's so true. It's how I describe this is, you know, if you're using social media for your business and there might be someone in, you know, Kenya who needs your help, but they can't find you unless you actually put yourself out there. And so there are people all over this is the beauty of social media, is there are people all over the world, but if they don't know who you are, you can't help them. So I love that you said that of like, if it's not about you, it's about the person you can help, because that's where these judgments, this fear, because I hear this all the time from my clients too, of that fear of what are people going to think of me? First thing I always say is, who are, quote, these people? You know, who's this crowd that's standing around the phone looking at your post being like, oh my God, can you believe Sophia posted that? Who does she think she is? Okay, so we have this misconception in our head that like these people, whoever these people are going to be judging us. So I always say, who are these people? Give me names. Yeah. Give me names of who these people are, because then the client's always like, oh, well, it's actually no one. Or maybe it's like one person, like who cares? One person really? Like,
Yeah.
so you know what I mean? So it's like in the reality, when we break it down, it's just a fear in our head. And the thing is, it's like the judgments are always going to be there and people are always going to be judging you. I'm judging people all day, every day. People are judging me all day, every day. It is a fact of life. You are not, this, Buddha walking on the planet without judgments on people. We are human beings and we have judgments. And so to think that I'm not going to have judgments on someone and they're not going to have judgments on me is completely false.
Totally.
So it's like, accept it in social media.
Yeah. And also, so what? Like, okay,
so
so-and-so has this opinion of me. Now what?
Right.
Does that change my mission? Does that change what I'm here to do? Does it change anything about my day? No.
Right.
So it really is like, why are we putting so much importance on these fears? Like, if I'm really not going to live up to what I want to accomplish in my life simply because I'm afraid someone's going to judge me, like what a waste. It actually breaks my heart thinking about that because I know I was so close to giving into that. It's, because we started this about my dad, like of course I miss my dad every single day. And I hate that he was so sick. And I hate the way that he passed, that had to happen to him. But it's interesting how many lives he changed because that happened to him. It was because that he got cancer that I was forced out of this place of playing small and not going after what I wanted. Same with my sister, same with even my mom. They had had a divorce and she was hanging on to him. I mean, she loves him. She loves him, right? And they loved each other. I mean, they divorced and they maybe didn't love each other in that way, but they loved each other as people, right? But that experience of him getting sick, it forced all of us to move into a different level of our lives and to also seize the beautiful moments of life, to stop taking it for granted, to see each other more often. Our lives changed. Our relationships with one another changed as soon as he got sick. And we're so lucky we got those 5 years to stop taking stuff for granted. But it was because he got sick that happened. And I think about, again, back to the topic that we're having, like it is really because of that moment in my life that I said, fuck it. I don't know if I can swear on here.
Yeah, I've already cussed. Yeah, swear as much as you want.
Yeah, but I said, fuck it to these judgments because I was like, I was so close to placing more importance on my fears than what I want to achieve in my life. And if it weren't for almost losing everything that I knew to be important to me in that moment, I probably would still be playing so small. I'd probably still be working 5 million jobs, barely getting by. And now I'm letting myself think bigger because this life is a lot shorter than we think it is. It's way more beautiful than we realize, and it's shorter than we think it is. And it's just so important to just stop placing more importance on your fears than what you actually want to achieve in this world.
Yeah, it's 100%. And what do you think in the people that you work with? So, because what I hear and what you're saying is that your urgency forced you to get above your fears, which that happens, right? When there's an urgent thing, it forces you to get above your fears. But most people don't have this urgent thing. Yeah. Most people are just like living life, doing their thing. So there's not an urgency to get above it, basically, to get the mission, as I say, let the mission be bigger than your fear. So what do you do with clients? Like, how do you help them, get above that, get above the fears, get above the judgments in order to be of service without there having to be this urgency around it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally. And I will say that the people that come to me, typically, they don't have to have this life traumatic instance in their life to kind of like get them out of their comfort zone, but they do tend to want more, right? And they feel really shitty for wanting more. They almost feel like, I've got such a great life. Like, I really shouldn't be so greedy. Like, I should just kind of like keep doing what I'm doing. Everything's fine, but it is okay to want more. And I find that for me, like when I have this conversation with people, I'm like, okay, so why are you here? And they start with that. They give me the whole spiel about how they feel guilty. However, they're like, if I could do this extra thing, or if I could have this, if I could leave the United States for the first time, or if I could, like whatever that thing is that feels a little out of reach, but they really want it, right? That's important to them. They're not admitting it, but it's important to them. And so for me, we have a real conversation about, okay, back to the question I asked myself at the beginning of this call that I shared with you. If I could have the life, this dream life, no obstacles, just whatever I wanted to be, what would it look like, right? And people always paint a vision different to what they're experiencing. It doesn't mean they're not happy. It doesn't mean I wasn't even happy. Even as a struggling actor, yeah, I was miserable in a lot of ways, but like, heck, I was living in New York City. I was an actor. I was dating the love of my life. I knew he was going to be my husband one day. I've been with the guy for 12 years. I met him when I was 21. Wow. I knew really quickly. So there's a lot of things to be grateful for. However, I wanted more. But I was afraid to say yes to more. And again, my dad's, what happened to my dad is what pushed me out of that. But for other people, they want more, right? Once they have the permission to say, okay, it's okay to want more, and I want more, let's do this, then the doors open up to them. And now we can ask the question, what will happen? Like, how will you feel if you don't get more?
Yeah.
Like, how will you feel if that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
And the truth comes out. And the truth is that it means a lot more to them than they're willing to admit to themselves. And so often they're not willing to admit it to themselves because they're afraid of failing. Yeah. And they're afraid of what that's going to feel like if they fail. So they don't want to admit that they want something. Right?
Totally. This is so juicy.
Usually what we talk about.
Oh my God, I love this. This is so juicy. And I want to continue this. We're going to pause for just a moment. You're listening to Rock Your Life with Ariane Alexander on Fun for Life Radio on the Dash Radio Network. And if you haven't listened to my friend Dana Buckler's show, check it out. It's called Hollywood Unfiltered. He gives you a behind the scenes peek at all things Hollywood, which of course, Sophia and I know a lot about Hollywood. It's very juicy and fun, but he interviews producers, directors, writers, all kinds of people. He's interviewed John Travolta. He's interviewed like amazing people. So check out Hollywood Unfiltered with Dana Buckler. We'll be right back.
Fun for Life Radio, because having fun is a good use of your time.
Okay, I'm back with Sophia Parra. She is a social media expert. She has a really cool program that I've been a part of for so long. It's called What the Heck to Post, because what I find, and why she named it that, is people are always like, what the heck do I post? What am I going to post? What is my content about? So Sophia created this amazing membership program where every week she sends out prompts Monday through Friday, basically of what you can share about. And she gives you templates to use. She gives you pictures. She gives you, oh my God, so many examples. So there is no reason to sit there and be like, what the heck am I going to post again? Because Sophia like hand feeds it to you on a silver platter. So that's where I have been a fan of Sophia's for so long, because when I don't know what to post, I just go into my vault of Sophia's awesome prompts and do that. So we'll tell you more about her membership program. But first of all, let me just ask you right now, what's your Instagram, Sophia?
Sophia Parra, Sophia, and Parra is Parra.
Okay, so we can go there to find out about what the heck to post.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So follow Sophia at Sophia Parra, Sophia Parra, and you'll find out about what the heck to post. But back to this place of basically getting your visions bigger. Okay, I love what you said, that like most people they feel greedy. Like when they think about what they really want to create, they feel greedy or not deserving, or it's not okay. And I especially see this with women. And I know you work with a lot of women too, but I think this is definitely, I mean, I think it's every person based, but I definitely see it with women, that it's not okay to ask, to even dream about what we really want. Mm-hmm. That it's not, because we're not brought up. I mean, in school, when we're brought up, they're not like, teachers aren't like, what do you really want to create in your life? It's basically, people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Which is just the dumbest question ever. Because like, who knows what they want to be when they grow up? I mean, come on. But it's like, true. Right. But like, nobody says like, as we grow up and go through high school and college, no one's like, what excites you and what would you really create? If you could really, if anything was possible, what would that be? People don't ask those questions. So then as adults, we're taught to like play small, like everything's fine. I fucking hate that word fine. If somebody asks me, how's your life? It's fine. I'm like, shoot me now. Like if everything's fine, like that's so like lackadaisical.
Yes.
So, totally. How do you help your clients like give themselves permission to dream big and to want more? How do you do that within yourself and with your clients?
Well, within myself, I think that I am terrified. Actually, I don't know. That's not the right word, but there was a point. And actually, I felt this way even before my dad, right? I was terrified of living a mediocre life. Like, I would rather fail in flames and make it interesting than just live fine, just live day to day, kind of getting through and just a very run of the mill kind of life from at least like what I was imagining, right? Like, I was terrified of living a mediocre life. So for me, yeah, I know that with every quote unquote failure, and I have to say, like, I just had a conversation with my coach this morning. I'm going to do this really random launch on Thursday, which I was not expecting to do. I just cooked it up because it's my birthday tomorrow. And I was like, hey, I'll just do this fun launch. And in my head, I was like, this could fail miserably because I do not have a plan. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm just going to like try this thing. Right. And she's like, well, then what, just out of curiosity, why do you still want to do it if you're going to fail? Or if you think you're going to fail? And I was just like, because even if I fail, I'm going to learn a shit ton. And it's going to help me on my next launch. And I just think I have this gut feeling I need this data to up level. So for me, mediocrity is not okay. And I'm just not okay with just skating on through. Like, I want to be excited about my life. I want to tell the story at the end of my life to my grandkids, and I want them to be on the edge of their seats.
I love that. Oh my God.
Because even if it doesn't go the way I am planning, like, something is going to come out of it, because it always has, Arian. Like, it always has, it always does. I talk to people about this all the time, and they tell me about their failures, and then they tell me, yeah, but that's how I met my husband, or, but that's how I did this, or, but that's how I got to Asia, or I don't know, whatever their story is. And it always comes from an epic failure of some kind. So for me, failing is not a problem. Even failing is a blessing. And I fully embrace failure because I know it's part of winning. It's part of succeeding. It's part of this incredible life that you're going to lead. And for me, like, I think that my work is mainly in the social media work and the strategy work. So we don't always touch on the mindset stuff. However, when I see someone holding back on their social media content, or judging every single thing they want to put on social media, or just like getting really in their heads about it, these are the conversations I have with them. I'm like, okay, why are we doing this? Because honestly, it would be easier if we just shut down your business, stopped marketing it, and you just went and got a job somewhere else. Like, why are we doing this? Right?
Yeah.
When you can really ask those questions and have an honest conversation about why the heck is this happening? Why are you putting in all this energy? Why are you paying money for me? Why are you doing this? There is a reason. And it's just having the patience to keep asking why until you get there. Because it's not always obvious, even for the person who's running up against the limiting beliefs, whatever it is. It's not always obvious. They don't always know. So if you're by yourself right now and you don't have a coach and you don't have someone to drill you with this stuff, literally take out a journal and just keep asking why, right? Keep asking why until you get to the core of why you're doing this, because that is what's going to drive you through to the other side. And that is what gets people to show up on social media consistently when they get really in touch with why the heck they are doing this. It's a game changer for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's so awesome. Really to question why you're doing it. What is the intention around it? And also that I love what you said. I just wrote this down in quotes of, I would rather fail in flames and make it interesting than just be fine. I'm like, I've written down so many quotes from you today. It's going to be so fun to make social media posts for this radio show because I have so many great quotes from you. But I love that. I would rather fail in flames and make it interesting than just be fine. And that's such an amazing a point of view of life, because I remember listening to Brene Brown, the Call to Courage on Netflix, which is like an amazing, amazing talk that she did, which if you haven't watched it, go to Netflix, watch the Call to Courage by Brene Brown. It will be so inspiring for you. And what she says is when she's talking to high level executives at corporations and stuff, and they'll say, yeah, okay, well, we'll try this. And maybe it'll work and maybe it won't, maybe it'll succeed and maybe it'll fail. And she goes, no, you don't get it. Like, you're gonna fail. If you're going outside the comfort zone and you're doing something new, you're gonna fail. There's no like, maybe we'll fail. She's like, you're going to fail. That's part of it. And when we as humans, because we as humans are like, oh, I don't want to fail. This ego is like, oh, I don't want to fail. It's not okay. But when we can just be like, we're going to fail.
Yes.
And it's okay. And so to embrace it and be like, you know, even with social media, not every post is going to be a winner. Half of them are probably not going to be. And some of them, you know, I find it so funny with my own social media. You know, I'll post like awesome, like vulnerable posts and inspirational posts and all this. The minute I put like a dirty fucking joke on there, I get double the likes and comments than I ever get. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is hilarious. I put my heart and soul into these. And like, I post one fucking meme that like is naughty and people are like, oh my God, that's so funny. I'm like, it's just so funny to me. So I just see that in myself of like, whatever I think is making an impact and making a difference, it's fine. But sometimes I'm going to fail and sometimes it's not going to do that, but just keep doing what I'm doing, basically.
Because failure, first of all, agreed. And failure is something to be celebrated because like I alluded to earlier, it's part of that next level. Like it is the thing that absolutely has to happen for you to get the data or the feedback to make the next decision that's going to be your game changer, right? Without that failure, the game changing thing just can't happen. It's not possible, right? You need to get this feedback in order to get to that place. And that's with social media too. Like even something that you just said, like the reason memes and things like that work is because they are relatable. People, you're either saying something they've thought and they're like, oh my God, that's totally what I was just thinking. Or you're sharing something that makes them feel seen. And that's the stuff that takes off when people feel seen. And so if you're using for social media as a business, for example, something I always say is, and this is not my own quote. I think Dean Graziosi said this. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. But it's something like people do not buy from you because they understand you. They buy from you because they feel understood. So this goes back to the whole reason that you're on social media. It's for the audience. It's for the other person. Even with those memes, yes, you might relate to the meme, but if your audience relates to the meme, that's what's going to make it take off.
Wow. Yeah, that's such a good point. It's not about, it's about your audience feeling seen and understood by you. And that again is flipping that point of view. It's back to, it's not about you. It's about you seeing and understanding your audience and helping them feel related to, instead of you being like, oh my God, I hope I post this thing that a lot of people like and comment on. Yes. You know, it's a different point of view, and that gives a different spin on it. And that's the thing. It's like, that's business, is like always thinking about what's going to help my end user feel seen and understood. Which is
absolutely,
you know, and there's an art to that. I mean, that's why you do this. And that's why you're so good at what you do, is you definitely have that point of view in the prompts that you give to people and what the heck to post, you know? So that's really cool. And all of it's very, very interesting of how to actually, like, it's so interesting that social media encompasses so many life lessons.
That's so true. Yeah.
Right? Of like failure and, you know, desiring more and having your mission be bigger than your fear and understanding your audience. And like, and that's where I think, that's why I like what you do. 'Cause it's not just about creating, you know, content that people like and share, basically.
Yes. It's about, for me, the whole like basis of social media for me is about relationships. Right. So that's why for me, like even my clients, I'm like, they're so focused on how many likes or how many comments they're getting. And I'm like, wait a second, who actually cares? Because just because someone likes or comments on a post doesn't mean they're going to become clients, right? The metric for success, the metric for clients is conversation. It's not a like or a comment, right? So for me, a huge part of what I do is turning whatever engagement you have into a conversation. And if you can help, especially if you're a business, now we're speaking specifically to people who are trying to make money on social media. If you can help one person a day create an actual relationship with one person a day, maybe you're like, what do you need right now? And they say, I need help with this. And you're like, hey, I've got a lead magnet for that. Or I've got a post that I've created before. Here you go. Right there, you've helped that one person and you've also created a relationship. This person now actually has the capacity to convert into a client because they see you as a resource. They see you as someone they can trust because they've just shared something that they need and you've given it to them. So right away, there's a relationship that can convert. I call this the process of building a profitable community and not just a community. And I know not everyone listening is a business owner, so that doesn't apply to everyone, but still the power of relationships is what social media was built on. And it's not the thing people tend to use social media for. They're using social media to share just about themselves. Again, they're making it about themselves. But the second you flip that on its head and you make it about the person, the people there, and you make an effort to engage with them and have conversations with them, that is why social media was created. And that is what makes the experience of social media a more wholesome one. And as a business owner, a more successful one.
Cool. I love that. Create a relationship with at least one person a day. Mm-hmm. That is pretty simple, basically. Mm-hmm. If you're growing your business through social media, it's not 10 people a day. It's not 25. It's one. So that's very doable. So I really like that you break it down into that small piece that is doable. And what Sophia means by that is it's taking the conversations into the direct messages. Yeah. So it's taking them off of the homepage of Facebook or Instagram in the comments and likes, and actually going into the direct messages and engaging with people. And again, Sophia is an expert at this, and she has a whole, trainings around this and her What the Heck to Post programs that I've been a part of for years. And she's excellent at helping you understand how to have these conversations in the DM so that they can turn into clients eventually, or not, but you're at least building this personal relationship with people to serve them. And, what I found is when you serve people, they generally become clients.
Totally. And I will say, when my husband had a stroke, 2 years ago, and he lost his short-term memory, and I was by he couldn't do very much at the time. He was still, they were trying to figure out how this happened, et cetera. I did not have the bandwidth to create content. I was so strapped. I was with my husband. I was helping my clients. Creating content for myself was just not possible for me, right? I just didn't have the mental bandwidth capacity or emotional bandwidth. And the only thing I did every day was that I created relationships on the platform every single day. I made sure that I helped one person a day. And it was something I could do by his hospital bedside when he was in the hospital. And I just did it while we were waiting for him to wake up. I just kept having conversations with people. And my business during that time still grew, because that was my focus. How many conversations am I having versus, how many likes am I getting? If I were thinking about that, I wasn't posting content to get likes at the time. So I would have failed miserably and I would have given up on social media. So I changed the metric to conversation, and that definitely moved the needle on my business.
Oh, that's awesome. It's such a good lesson. That's for sure. Because it's so easy. That's where the comparison can come in of they have so many more followers and they have so many more likes and comments and and people can get intimidated by that. But what you're saying is it's the numbers aren't as important as the actual conversations that you're having.
For sure. Yeah.
And I see that because I see people would call it small followings on Instagram that have hugely, I have plenty of friends who have 7-figure businesses that are not Instagram superstars,
Nope. Totally.
So it's one thing to think when you're trying to compare yourself that you don't actually know what's happening on the other end.
Yep. One of my clients actually, a couple of my clients last year actually had 6-figure launches in 1 month. They made 6 figures. One of them did it all in the DMs, and the other one only has 3,000 followers, and she made had a 6-figure launch. Right?
Wow.
So for me, this is why it gets a little frustrating when people are like, "Oh, my biggest frustration is I'm not growing," and I'm like, let's say you had 10,000 followers tomorrow, what would you do to convert them into clients? And their constant response is, they'll just convert into clients because they follow me. And I'm like, no, followers do not equal clients. They are two completely different things. You absolutely have to have a system for building relationships and having daily conversations to create those relationships to convert to clients. And when you look at it that way, the follower count is not the most important thing at all. It's what you're doing with the people that are already there. And when you distract yourself with the follower counts, you're ignoring the people who've already said yes to you, who are already there raising their hands saying, please help me. And you're like, yeah, 1 second. I just have to help these other people who don't know me yet. Stop doing that.
God, that's such a good metaphor. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, the people that have already said yes. I'm really busy trying to get other new friends to follow me, so I don't have time for you. Sorry.
Totally.
That's amazing. Oh my God. So freaking crazy, isn't it? Oh my gosh. That's why I love what you do, is because you're so clear about actually creating those relationships in the DMs and turning them into clients. So thanks for clarifying that. And again, that's all at Sophia's What the Heck to Post. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with a lightning round of questions for Sophia, because I didn't even mention that Sophia lives in England. You live in London, right?
Yes.
You're like the coolest person. I'm gonna make you do your British accent when we come back.
Oh gosh, please don't do that.
Oh, yeah. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. We'll be right back. This is Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander.
Fun for Life Radio, your soundtrack to the game of life.
Okay, we're back with Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander here on Fun for Life Radio. And we are Fun for Life here. We have so many fun shows for you. One of my favorites is Pili Montia's show, Truth and Tunes. She's a cultural music expert, and she interviews all kinds of really awesome musicians and songwriters and producers from all over the world to give you a little behind the scenes tour of the music industry. And then she'll play their music and they'll tell you their favorite songs and what's impacted them. And it's just a really, really cool show. So listen to Pili Montia's Truth and Tunes. And I'm back with Sophia Parra, and we're doing your lightning round of questions. And as I said, right before we went to break, Sophia lives in London. So first off, give me your best London accent. What is your favorite thing about living in London?
Okay, so first of all, I have been in COVID since I arrived, so I don't have a British accent. But let's do a part 2, and I will definitely give you a British accent when I finally hear British people talk.
Okay. Well, I had my British accent from Downton Abbey. I had to do an audition one time with a British accent, so I just watched
amazing.
Episodes. So I don't even remember if I can do it now, but let's see. Hello, love. Maybe we should go get some tea. No, that was Australian. Sorry. See, I can't even do it. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I once did, what's that? Oh my gosh. Loving Ernest. What's that famous Oscar Wilde play?
I don't know.
I cannot think of it. But there's a really funny character that I played when I was an actor. And she had a really, really high voice like this. And it was really over the top. And that is the one that I can almost do. But if I don't do that crazy, crazy voice, it's does not work.
Well, that was cute. We like that.
But that's it's it's not good. That's a 10-year-old accent. So don't judge me.
Okay. Well, what's your favorite thing about living in London?
Well, I literally moved there in January of this year. So I have actually been locked in the house the entire time. They have a very different lockdown than they did in the States.
Oh.
But I will say something that I am really enjoying. My husband's family lives in a place called Norwich. Did not pronounce that well, I'm sure. But they have seals all over the beach. And so I was literally obsessed with these seals for weeks. I was filming them. One of them even gave birth on my Instagram story. I had the most views I have ever had in my life over this Instagram story birth.
Cool. That's cool.
So I think so far that's a fave. The seals on the beach for sure.
Okay. I love it. Okay, good. And during COVID, what's the one thing that's really great that you learned about yourself during COVID?
Well, I've noticed it kind of goes back to my dad, which is why I almost hesitated even mentioning it again. But, my dad died during COVID. I was with him for 3 months during COVID. And I think I didn't realize that I had the strength to sit through some really horrific things that I thought would make me turn away or hide because of how uncomfortable they were. And I have a very amazing poker face that even has a smile on it. You know what I mean? As my dad was going through some horrible things, his tumor actually ate his face. So he had a big hole in his face as he was dying. And a lot of people couldn't be in the same room as him because it was so hard to see. And not once did I turn away. I looked in his eyes the entire time. I held his hand, and I didn't know I had that ability. So I think that's something I discovered through COVID because I was able to be with him that entire time and through his illness. And I'm really grateful for that. And I'm seeing that again and again come up with kids' babies as they poop on me, as like, like all these crazy things. Like if it makes the person uncomfortable, I have this ability to turn off my like initial reaction and just be there with the person and be like, it's okay. We're good.
Wow.
So I
so
think
beautiful.
that's something, that I'd
So beautiful. Okay, cool. So now that when you're able to travel a little more in Europe and elsewhere, where are you and your husband going to go traveling first?
Probably Greece. We've been talking about it a lot. Greece. We've always wanted to go to Mykonos, and I think it's really between Mykonos and Lima, Peru.
Nice. Well,
we've always
very
said
different.
That, so
very different.
Totally different.
Totally different. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Well, I have had so much fun talking to you today. Sophia is a dear friend of mine, and it's great to talk with you in this format too. So go follow Sophia at Sophia Parra, SOPHIA PARRA, and check out her What the Heck to Post membership program. It's extraordinary. It will change your life in social media. It has completely changed my experience. And she's a wealth of information. She's so generous on Facebook and Instagram of giving so much to her clients and people that follow her. She's not busy looking for the next followers. She's actually, like she said, focusing on who's there and being of service. So you'll love Sophia. But thanks so much for being here. This is awesome to talk to you in this format. And I'm just so grateful for all that you've shared today.
Thank you so much for having me, truly.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.